Welcome to BNEWS Oscar Special. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Entertainment Reporter Chris Flaherty. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Phil. Happy to be here.
And we're going to preview, well, Chris is going to because he's much younger and sees a lot more films than this old cat does. But we're going to talk about Hollywood in general and box office and then nominees, etc., and your take on the various pictures.
Sure.
But let's start with 2017. Wasn't a particularly good year for Hollywood.
Not at all. And I'll just start by saying I offer my condolences to anyone that put La La Land as Best Picture in their Oscar pool last year.
Yeah, that's right.
And lost a bunch of money.
And anything had the book at the bookies, right?
Yeah. So in response to that,
well, let's review what happened for us there.
what happened
Kimmel was the host. Right?
Kimmel was the host, and how it goes, there are two PricewaterhouseCoopers representatives at the ceremony, and each is sworn to secrecy over who's winning what awards. Each has a set of winners' envelopes they hand to the presenters as they go on. And so, like, you know, as time goes on, like, okay, I gave him the Best Actor envelope. That means I get rid of my copy. And Brian Coulion, the representative from
senior
partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, was distracted because he was on his phone tweeting, and he handed his backup copy of the Best Actress envelope to Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. And of course, Emma Stone won for La La Land. So they saw La La Land on the envelope. They said La La Land, chaos ensues.
Chaos ensued because it wasn't La La Land that won.
No, it was
Emma
not.
Stone won.
Yeah, it's a crazy coincidence that La La Land was the front runner to win Best Picture, but they did not win Best Picture.
So Price Waterhouse has put in what controls this year? Since accounting firms are always famous for controls.
Somehow they still have the account after 90 years, and they have this major mess up. There have been some new rules instated for the representatives that attend the ceremony. There's going to be a third representative sitting with the producers all night. They will have their own copy of envelopes going through the show. So if anything goes wrong, they can be like, no, stop them right now. The representatives have to attend rehearsals to practice any sort of fire drills if anything goes wrong, like last year. And this is the most important one. If you're a PricewaterhouseCoopers representative and you are attending the Oscars, you are banned from using your phone and being on social media. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Brian Coulion. If you're a PricewaterhouseCoopers representative and you want to take a selfie with your favorite nominee, you can't now. And
so
somehow they are both still with the firm, but they're banned from the Oscars.
Each year there seems to be some sort of a social theme in Hollywood. Finally, there was some gay pictures were more of a theme. Diversity was a big theme last year. Politics is always a theme, even more virulent this year than in past years.
Sure.
But Me Too now seems to be the new theme.
Yes.
Maybe even, forgive me, to some degree, overdone in certain circles. But tell us about Weinstein.
Weinstein was the first big, I don't know what the word is.
Outed perpetrator.
Yeah, the first outed perpetrator. Obviously, he's the white whale of them all because for years he has been known to be a horrible person to work with. From being a director, an actor, just working with Harvey Weinstein was nothing short of a nightmare. And somehow, finally, these stories came out, and finally, you know, they pulled the plug on him. And then the floodgates sort of opened after that. I could go down the list. Kevin Spacey was accused. Jeffrey Tambor was accused. James Franco, Aziz Ansari, John Lasseter, the creative executive officer of Disney, was accused. Casey Affleck. Casey Affleck was accused around the same time, like way early last year, just as he won his Oscar. And obviously, you know, now they've brought into new light. And so this year, and normally, you know, if you are the Best Actor winner from last year, this year you present Best Actress at the show. He has very wisely decided to not do that, and Christopher Plummer will present that award instead.
But isn't this incredible hypocrisy on display? I mean, Cokie Roberts was, I don't know, CBS or whatever. She's a, an investigative journalist. said, "Oh, hey, we knew about this for years." Meryl Streep was up there, and not Liv Ullmann, but the other one, calling this guy God as they were accepting their award nominations. I mean, Roman Polanski's been an admitted or convicted rapist for 25 years, and they've been giving him accolades. Corey Haim, 20 years ago, said he had been a constant victim of pedophilia, and not a thing was done. Woody Allen, of course, married his adoptive daughter, I guess. I mean, isn't this hypocrisy run rampant at this point?
You do have to I mean, the historians will tell us in a few years, but you do have to wonder what clicked in people's heads to say enough is enough, finally. And now the storm gates are open. People are being accused left and right. But
I guess Rose McGowan would be the one to get
yes,
the
she
most
is a big
credit
advocate.
for.
But you do have to wonder, because if these things have been happening for years and years and years, and now finally everyone is speaking up, and you do have to wonder, what is the state of the industry that's taken years for people to talk about it? Who's been silencing these women? I mean, who's getting paid off to do all this?
Well, and the other thing is how many careers have been ruined. I think Mira Sorvino was an example of somebody who was essentially blackballed to a certain degree. The other, the blonde girl from Boogie Nights, the skating girl, I forget her name.
I can't remember.
But she was
Is
another.
it Uma Thurman?
No, Uma Thurman was, she was Brad Pitt's girlfriend, right? Brad Pitt is the only hero in the whole thing.
Not Jennifer Aniston.
No, he was going out with her at the time, and I guess he threatened to punch out Harvey Weinstein at a party over his inappropriate advances. But finally, apparently, they've got religion or got some morals. Until the next time.
The curtain's been pulled back, and now we see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, and it doesn't look pretty.
No, it does not.
Across the entire industry, I might add. It doesn't seem to be
TV and
white
film,
nights.
and you've seen a lot of people get fired recently. Kevin Spacey, the star of House of Cards, he's won several accolades. He's gone. This is the last season now. They're rewriting it, so Robin Wright is the star of that show.
And apparently he's been notorious for years. There's a number 6 or 7 charges against him in London at the London, one of the London famous theaters. I'm not sure which.
I don't remember. But he's probably had the most accusers out of all of them, right up there with Harvey Weinstein.
Well, let's hope that they've cleaned house in this regard. Let's hope that
times are
women
changing.
finally get an even break in Hollywood and in other places, in newsrooms and in other entertainment areas. So let's go on to the industry itself. Not a bad year for the industry. A number of different things. Anecdotes. Dunkirk surpassed Private Ryan as the largest grossing World War II film. The Last Jedi grossed $104 million in its first viewing.
Well, everybody loves Star Wars.
Well, it surpassed actually The Force Awakens, which was had done $100 million on its opening day, and they are the only two in a series that have ever grossed $100 million in a day.
Wow.
I think I mentioned China had 21 million moviegoers in one day. That set a record too, I guess.
That's incredible.
So lots of things going on. Number of female leads was the largest number, I think, this year.
It's true.
Despicable Me became the highest grossing animated franchise ever with $3.6 billion, surpassing Shrek. And then the 2017's box office record of Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Beauty and the Beast, and Wonder Woman supplanted 1958's box office record of South Pacific, Auntie Mame, Cat in a Hot Tin Roof as the highest grossing year domestically for female-led films.
Yep, as you said.
Well, you would think, though, that the dollars, I hope those are dollar for dollar. You would think that 1958's films didn't cost you $13 to get in.
I hope not. There's been some inflation over the past few years, I think.
So all in all, not a bad year for the film industry. I think 18 films grossed over $500 million.
Yeah.
So considering the year, what went on in the industry, you think a pretty good year?
Yeah, I think a good year. And as you said, female leads definitely taking the lead, no pun intended. As you said, the top 3 films, Star Wars, Beauty and the Beast, Wonder Woman, three female leads right there, Daisy Ridley, Emma Watson, Gal Gadot. If you look at some of the nominees for Best Picture this year, a lot of strong female leads. 3 Billboards, Frances McDormand, Lady Bird, Saoirse Ronan, Shape of Water, Sally Hawkins, and then even in the lesser categories, you have Margot Robbie, I, Tonya, Jessica Chastain as Molly Bloom. So, I mean, it was a great year. I don't know what happened, but someone finally said, let's start writing strong women and strong characters. So it's been a good year, I think, all around.
The interesting thing about the top 10 grossing films, if I can get those here in my notes, is that there's very few that are new business, shall we say?
Yes, not was it all sequels and remakes and
Yeah, within the top 10, you've got The Last Jedi,
sequel,
Beauty and the Beast,
remake,
Wonder Woman,
sort of a sequel,
Guardian of the Galaxy 2,
sequel,
Jumanji,
sequel,
Spider-Man Homecoming.
it's sequel, the start of a new Spider-Man franchise, but part of the Marvel universe, so a sequel in a way.
Well, they've been a giant stride forward. Nobody wanted to take on Marvel's
No.
characters for years in the films. They did it themselves, and to the tune of what, 3.5 billion or something?
3.5 billion. The first two Avengers films are two of the highest-grossing films of all time. But yeah, way back when, no one wanted to make superhero films, so the rights to all the characters were scattered across studios. And Kevin Feige who said, like, okay, we got Iron Man left, we got Captain America left, we got Hulk left, we got Thor. Those four made the Avengers. Let's make films of those guys, and then let's make the Avengers, tie it all together in one continuity,
That's right.
and it paid off.
If one is good, two is better, three is better, then the whole collection is even more better, right?
That's true, and now the superhero bubble is blossomed full, and now all these other studios are like, okay, let's hold on to these rights. We don't want to give them back to Marvel. But then the whole North Korea hack from Sony happened a long time ago, and to save face, they gave partial, not full rights to Spider-Man back to Marvel.
Right. Well, and I notice in honor of the superheroes, you have your Captain America tie on today.
Yes, they do. Not nominated for anything,
No.
but it's there.
And what about the franchises? I mean, obviously Star Wars is the leading franchise. What is the next one? Will be the 9th?
Yes. The next one, Han Solo, a Star Wars spin-off. And then we get the sequel, the direct sequel to The Last Jedi in 2019. So that brings us to a total of 11 Star Wars films. And just over the past month, one director, Rian Johnson, who directed this one, he's going to get his own trilogy of Star Wars films. So that's 3 more. The writers of Game of Thrones announced they're writing a trilogy of Star Wars films. So that's 6 more. There's 4 more spin-offs in development. So
It's almost like Star Trek paperbacks, right?
Yes.
Go to the used paperback store. There's 50 Star Trek titles.
Yeah, there's no novelty to a Star Wars film anymore because you're going to get one every year for the next 10 years.
Well, apparently you're going to do that if they did get a $100 million opening, right?
That's
Gross
true.
opening.
I mean, if people like Star Wars, let's make more Star Wars. I mean, Beauty and the Beast, people like watching their Disney animated classics portrayed by A-list celebrities in live action. So you look at Disney's slate for the next few years, it's all remakes of animated classics. We're getting remakes of Dumbo, Aladdin, and Lion King next year. So
Well, why not?
yeah, why not, right?
I'm sure Mickey and Minnie and Donald Duck and Pluto and everybody will be back in some sort of an animated feature film, right?
Yeah, whoever's going to play Mickey Mouse, we'll see.
Be a lifetime annuity.
Oh, God.
So again, this year, let's talk about the comparison of the popularity and the grossing dollars of films versus those that are nominated for so-called art.
Well, okay, you can just look at the 10 nominated for Best Picture and the 10 highest grossing films of all time, and there is absolutely no film that shares a spot on either list.
Either list, right?
And which is weird because Dunkirk and Get Out, 2 of the most popular films of the year, and they didn't gross anything.
No, they were somewhere in the second tier, weren't they?
Yeah.
Of the top 20, I thought I saw Dunkirk in there. Dunkirk was 14.
14.
Logan was 11. That's another franchise. But Despicable Me, I was surprised, came in at number 7. That, of course, is not going to be nominated for anything.
Yeah.
The Lego Batman movie came in at 16. And which number of Pirates of the Caribbean are we on?
I think that's 5 now.
5 or 6, yeah.
5 or 6. You're going to get 5 or 6 more. probably.
Absolutely.
If everyone keeps going to see these movies, they'll keep making more sequels.
Well, people must be going because I noticed that for old timers, you used to be able to get during the matinee, you used to be able to get a discounted ticket. I don't know, from $13 to $11.
To like 7.
Yeah.
I learned that. I've seen a lot of movies the past few weeks. I learned if I go earlier, I pay less.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that they got rid of the discount during the week for us senior citizens. Now you can only get it one day a week.
Fair.
And then they charge you if you go online and you pick your seat. They charge you $1.60 or $1.70 for a convenience fee. Apparently, it's convenient for them, so they want to charge you $1.70.
No, you get and then there's like a charge for 3D, an extra charge for IMAX. You want to add
IMAX is worth it.
IMAX is worth it for some films, but you know they're grossing all this money, but the theaters don't see, I guess, a huge percentage of the film right off the bat. I guess the longer the film is in the theaters, the more money the theater makes. So they really bank on the concessions. So.
Now, what are we seeing on the offline producers, Netflix and Amazon and some of these other non-traditional? Do we see anything cracking the top 10 there?
As you see through this list, none of these films like appeared on Netflix or Amazon Video or
nothing like the way they're
Hulu.
Dominating television.
No, like the only nominee from an online released film would be Mary J. Blige for supporting actress for Mudbound. So, and that's just like a part of the whole, like, people don't see the films that are nominated. Like the Academy's taste is not the same as the taste of the general public. And also there's a big problem where, like, I don't know if you've noticed, every winter, they release all the Oscar bait films right off the bat.
Right.
So nobody can see them. So you're watching the Golden Globes and like, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Oh wait, I saw that one. So it's just like, I don't know if it's the Academy having a short-term memory loss type of deal or.
Or it might be submission by the studios and ones they think that are going to qualify for this.
Well, it's a crowd. The media is so crowded now. Like, the summer box office season isn't what it used to be. Like, if you want your movie to make money and it's a huge blockbuster, releasing in the summer might not be the best idea. Like, maybe release it in March or February or something. Right. And so then these like lesser, more artsy films sort of like they fall to the side. They don't make a lot of money. Nobody sees them. And then, you know, they get nominated for film somehow, nominated for Oscars somehow, and then people are like, what film was that? When did that come out?
Well, run down the award shows for us. The kind of that's another thing. They're really captives to the calendar of the award shows. You have the British
Academy.
British Academy.
You have the Academy Awards. You have the Golden Globes run by the Hollywood Foreign Press. The Critics' Choice by the Critics Association, the Screenwriters Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, the Producers Guild, the Directors Guild. There's a lot of awards shows.
A lot of self-aggrandizement in Hollywood, huh?
Yes. It's consolation. If you're not going to win an Oscar, maybe you'll win a Golden Globe. If you don't win a Golden Globe, maybe a Boston Film Critics Award.
Right. Jerry Seinfeld, if you get a chance, look it up on the internet. He does a wonderful little riff on awards are stupid while he's receiving an award from HBO.
Yeah, awards don't mean anything until you win one.
That's right. But every real estate agent and every car dealer has got the Silver Globe Award, the Golden Globe, the Platinum Globe.
Well, it goes way down here, like local Emmys and local Oscars and stuff.
His best line, is the director saying, here, put these clothes on, stand where I tell you to sign, read these lines I say, look at the camera this way. The man's an acting genius. All right, so let's go. You've done some exhaustive research, I know, because you sent me about 15 pages in preparation for the show.
It was 10. Again, I wasted a lot. Not wasted, but I spent a lot of time in movie theaters.
Well, you are, after all, the entertainment reporter.
I know.
So who else would
and
we
I
want
like
to
movies.
report?
And
well, one thing before you go on to that. Were you surprised that Blade Runner did as well or didn't do as well as we might have
Oh,
thought?
you're gonna put me to shame on television right now.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't see
Oh
Blade
my
Runner.
God!
I haven't even seen the original yet.
Oh my God! Well, that's because you're too young to remember seeing a sci-fi film classic starring the original Han Solo.
Yeah, Harrison Ford. I know who Harrison Ford is. No, I saw like a lot of debate about that movie, whether it was good or not good, or if it was awards worthy or not. Well, there's debates every year about this film should have been nominated, this film should not have been nominated.
I'm not sure it was Oscar worthy. I'm not even sure it was up to the quality of the original, but it was. If you're a sci-fi buff like moi, is that word moi?
Yeah,
moi.
yeah.
It was definitely worth seeing.
Okay. The original's on my DVR.
I'll get the director's cut.
Okay.
Because Han Solo does the narration.
Okay.
That's great. Okay.
Films that were nominated.
Yeah, let's start with that. And throw up those wonderful graphics if you would.
The nominees for Best Picture are Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, thank you, and The Shape of Water. That is 9 films nominated for Best Picture. Again, it was so much easier when they only nominated 5.
Right. So this means somebody can win this thing with a small plurality, right?
That's true. Now, I have seen 6 out of these right now. I didn't do the marathon this year. But I spent just as much time.
We wanted you to be able to speak when you got here.
That's true. So this was an interesting year because if you asked me way back in September, I would have had no inkling or idea what was the front runner to win Best Picture. Not because none of these films were bad. It was just sort of like it was all across the board. Like this person won the big award at this festival. This film won this award at this festival.
There was no unanimity in terms of the quality of the film.
The playing board was stark flat. But now we're getting a little clearer picture of what's going on, because we've had the Critics' Choice Awards, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and the Golden Globes. And this is a game of like patterns, really. Like you have to look at what's won what so far.
Right.
I mean, right now, Get Out has won the Critics' Choice for Best Sci-Fi or Horror. As far as the Golden Globes, Best Pictures, Lady Bird has won Best Comedy or Musical, and Three Billboards won, Best Picture Drama. It also won the Screen Actors Guild Award for the Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble, which is one of those big awards. If you won that, chances are you're going to win Best Picture.
And we can pretty much cross out Get Out because sci-fi or horror films don't generally win, right?
I don't know. And Get Out, like if I were to announce my favorite, I would say Get Out is my favorite out of all of these. It's the first directing feature of Jordan Peele. He wrote it. For those that know him, he's part of the famous comedy duo on Comedy Central, Key and Peele. I can't really talk about Get Out too much because I don't want to spoil it, but it stars a young man named Chris, an African-American man. He has a white girlfriend named Rose. They go up to her parents' house Memorial Day weekend so he can meet their family, and then I can't spoil it too much.
But it's a contemporary Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with a little
bit. Yeah, it's you notice like there's something off about the people in this town, and then once you realize what's going on, it's kind of like, wow.
Some black humor in there, too.
Some black humor, yes.
I don't mean for the leading man.
Some white humor.
Yeah, right. Black humor, white humor.
Black humor, white humor. One of my favorite jokes
Dark
is...
humor.
Dark humor. One of my favorite jokes is the dad's trying to, bond with Chris, the main character. He's like, by the way, Obama, my favorite president of all time, would have voted for him for a third time if I could have. And that's the line that stuck out for me. So, I mean, Get Out's probably a long shot. I think it's going to come down to Lady Bird and Three Billboards. And I've seen
Lady Bird's kind of a coming-of-age film,
It
right?
is, and it wasn't my favorite out of all of them. But it was very well written. The dialogue felt very real. You got real performances out of the mother and daughter. That's Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf.
She's Sheldon's mother, right?
Is she?
Yeah, Laurie Metcalf is Sheldon's mother.
Oh, I know her as Roseanne's sister now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have The Shape of Water, which is it's a very genre-esque film, and I'm very surprised it's gotten nominated for anything. It's like, it's Beauty and the Beast meets from the Black Lagoon in the Cold War. It's like this young woman, she's a mute, she works as a cleaner in this government facility, and this big wig brings in this fish monster to study it so the Russians can't study it instead. And then she sort of starts to bond with the fish monster, and then it goes from there. I'll leave it at that.
Move here a little bit so my chair doesn't swivel around, so I'm facing backwards.
So, I mean, Shape of Water is nothing out of the ordinary for writer-director Guillermo del Toro. This is sort of his MO, these weird fantasy films that go into sort of taboo areas. But for this film to get the most nominations out of all of them, with 13 nominations, it won the Critics' Choice for Best Picture. And again, one of those telltale signs, it won the Producers Guild Award for Best Motion Picture.
So this has a shot, even though it's a horror sci-fi. Huh?
Yeah, a little horror sci-fi. So, I mean, it's a tough call. I think as far as, the general public, I think the front runner would be Three Billboards. The best way I can describe Three Billboards is it's this year's Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah, it's as sad a film as you're
It's a
gonna
very
say.
sad film. It's a lot of dark humor, and sometimes I don't mind dark films, but sometimes, like this film, it exhausted me.
Now, this is a mother who lost her daughter to a crime.
Yes, the daughter was kidnapped, raped, and tortured, and it's been like so many months since the case first opened, and there have been no arrests. So the mother takes out 3 billboards, and she writes a protest message to the local sheriffs, and then the whole movie is just sort of like
What are you doing?
Yeah, the conflict between her and the sheriffs.
Interesting.
So it's very dark, and there are some lighter moments, but it's again not the feel-good film of the year.
Right.
So.
Now look back in history last year, and who got the Golden Globe last year?
The Golden Globe last year, again, these two films will be forever tied together. Moonlight and La La Land. And obviously Moonlight won drama, La La Land won comedy or musical. La La Land, obviously a much more upbeat film. Moonlight, much more dark and serious.
And then who won the Oscar?
The Oscar, Moonlight.
Right.
And then the year before that, the Golden Globe went to The Revenant and The Martian. And then the Critics' Choice went to Spotlight. Spotlight is the story of the scandal with the priests in Boston.
And what won the Oscar that year?
Spotlight.
Spotlight.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Obviously, the Academy always goes more towards the dramas. So
yeah.
I would think Three Billboards is the front runner.
All right, let's go to Best Director.
Best Director.
Any big names in here?
A lot of big names.
Let's throw that up.
First up is Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, and again, Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water.
Okay, those are not in order, are they?
No, they're not.
All right, okay.
That's Guillermo on the top left.
Top, okay.
There's a lot of firsts in this category. Christopher Nolan, this is his first nomination after years of people saying he should have been nominated for Interstellar, he should have been nominated for Interception, he should have been nominated for The Dark Knight. So it's a historical category as far as him. Jordan Peele is the fifth.
It's also historical for him in the sense that it's a war film. I mean, he'd never done a war film before, had he?
No, he's never done a film based on actual events before, so that probably helped him. And the Academy loves war films, as we've seen before.
Right.
Jordan Peele, this is his first feature film. This is also his first nomination, and he is only the 5th African-American nominated for Best Director, and so far no African-American man or woman has won this category. Greta Gerwig, this is her first nomination.
But now he did get did he get the Directors Guild Award this year?
Yes, he got the Directors Guild Award for Outstanding Achievement in a First-Time Feature Film.
Okay, so that's not the main.
Not the
Directors
main one.
Guild, okay.
The main one went to Guillermo del Toro for Outstanding Achievement in Feature Film, and he also won the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globe. Greta Gerwig, this is her first nomination. She is only the 5th woman nominated in this category, and so far the only woman who has won this category is Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker. And I don't know, I think this would be a major win for any of them, really.
But Guillermo del Toro looked like the front runner at this
I'm saying
point?
Guillermo del Toro is probably the front runner, but again, it just amazes me that this sci-fi horror film has taken the Academy by storm. Like, it's definitely not everyone's cup of
Cup
tea.
of tea, right?
But he's definitely like in the lead of the pack. If I had to put one at the bottom, it would be Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread. Phantom Thread really just came out like a month ago, and it sort of just slipped in the nominations. You know, I mean, Lady Bird is another front runner for Best Picture, so she probably has a strong chance of winning. I love Christopher Nolan's films. I don't think this is his year because this is a very stacked category this year. I loved Get Out. I would love to see Jordan Peele win, but I think Guillermo del Toro has got the smart bet right now.
Right. And last year, of course, Damien Chazelle for La La Land, and that
Yes.
obviously had to be a difficult film to direct.
Yes, I mean, doing a modern day musical, filming on a freeway in Los Angeles where dancers are dancing on top of their own cars and putting dents all over them, and taking two actors who are not really classically trained singers and dancers and training them to reach these heights. And then obviously Emma Stone won Best Actress, and Ryan Gosling won the Globe. And
Well, that performance on the piano.
he taught the piano himself.
Yeah,
or he
well,
learned the
must have-
piano for the role.
He must have learned the jazz portion of the piano because he
Yes.
didn't start from ground zero
No.
in 4 months.
He
Get
took
that
about-
kind of capability.
Once he signed on for the role, it took about 3 months for him
3
to learn the
months to-
piano.
Get
And-
those chops up.
So the hand double was fired on the first day.
Oh my God, he was just unbelievable.
He was great.
Playing well, but we digress. We're going back
So
a year.
Normally, the best director, whoever wins best director, that is the telltale sign that you're going to go back up on that stage because your film's about to win best picture.
Right. So we don't have these in order though that the Academy has them in. They have the
No.
lesser. They have the lesser awards first.
Yes, the lesser was first. and then-
Culminating in
yeah,
Best Picture is the last
the
one.
last
right?
one.
Right.
So you need to have some coffee if you're going to stay up for the whole night.
Yeah, right. And I'll read about it the next day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Best actor now.
Well, in 2015, too, The Revenant,
Yes.
Alejandro.
He won
Rio.
2 years in a row
Yeah.
for The Revenant and then Birdman before that.
Yeah.
And I think The Revenant did not win Best Picture, so the pattern's not always clear. But Birdman won Best Picture. Who else? And then, obviously last year, Damien Chazelle won Best Director, but again, La La Land did not win Best Picture.
Right.
So,
All right, so we're on to what? Best Actor at this point?
Best Actor.
Can we roll that up and
Yep.
do me a favor and name them from
Okay.
left to right,
All
top
right,
to bottom?
that's Timothy Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name, Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out, Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour playing Winston Churchill, bottom left, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, and finally Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel Esquire. So, right now,
Okay.
it's pretty clear to see that Gary Oldman is the front runner for
Is he
this
the
one.
front runner? I thought maybe there'd be a sentimental choice there with Daniel Day-Lewis, since this is his
final
retiring
film, yes.
film.
And this would be his 4th Oscar win, which would put him ahead of the overrated Meryl Streep. So it would be, I don't want to rule it out that they'll give it to him, because he is probably one of the greatest actors of our time. But Phantom Thread, definitely one of the lesser nominees in the category of Best Picture. It's interesting that Gary Oldman has made it this far, because Darkest Hour wasn't getting the recognition from the other award of the awards circuit that is getting from Best Picture. I mean, the only nomination that Darkest Hour was really getting was him. And now here we have have it as Best Picture. So I think Gary Oldman is pretty much a lock-in for this. And this is his only his second nomination. And we have a bunch of firsts, like Daniel Kaluuya. This is his first Oscar, again from Get Out. He did a good job. Timothy Chalamet, Call Me By Your Name, first nomination. I didn't see Call Me By Your Name, I'm sorry. Daniel Day-Lewis, this would be his 6th nomination and possibly his 4th win. And then Denzel, his 8th nomination overall and possibly his 3rd win. But Roman J. Israel Esquire did not do well with the critics, and
right.
literally the only nomination here tonight, so I don't think this is Denzel's year.
Well, it's a Breaking Bad type of theme, right?
Yeah, I don't remember what it's about. He's an attorney.
He's an attorney who's
Yeah.
who's doing public defender work and various
Yeah.
things, and then he finds out it's easier to make money another way.
Mhm.
I'd love to see Gary Oldman get this because, I mean, when I first saw the trailer, I didn't even recognize who he
No,
was.
he literally transformed. I think
himself.
he gained all that weight for this, and it doesn't even look like him.
No, it doesn't. If
Yeah,
you remember
it's
from
amazing.
the assassin film, I forget that Leon, that film, Hitman. No, what? In
Tim
any
Curry,
event, then he was
yeah.
in that one with Bruce Willis, that strange one, five, and not Mila Kunis, Mila Jovovich was the. What the heck was the name of that?
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element.
Yeah.
There you go. I've always liked him as an
Yeah.
actor, and that.
No, he's
in
a
the
great
film, Leon, he
character
was
actor,
great.
and he definitely gives it all for his roles. And here he is, not even looking like Gary
Didn't even-
Oldman.
He looks just like Churchill. I'm a Churchill collector. I got a number of his volumes, and he looks just like him.
I know. Again, he won the Golden Globe, he won the Critics' Choice, won the Screen Actors Guild. I think it's his.
You think it's
Yeah,
his?
it's
Okay.
definitely his.
Although there are two favorites in there that could be, and a newcomer. They might want to give it out to a newcomer.
That's true.
Kaluuya.
Kaluuya would be an interesting choice. Definitely, a strong performance. Not the standout aspect of the film, but a strong performance regardless. Timothée Chalamet, he's young. He can probably get another nomination. And then Denzel, there's no doubt in my mind Denzel will be in this category again.
Again, sometime. Sure, as he ages, he's aged gracefully at this
Yes,
point.
yes.
And then last year, I think it was Casey Affleck, and the year before that was
Leonardo DiCaprio
Yeah.
for The Revenant.
Okay, Best Actress.
Best Actress. If we could throw those up and I could say them in
Director
order.
Robert.
There we go.
Okay.
So Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards. I'm not going to say the full name, I'm just going to say 3 Billboards. Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water, and Meryl Streep in her 21st nomination in The Post. So.
Well, what do you think in this category? Who's your favorite?
I'm going to say my favorite would probably be Margot Robbie for I, Tonya. Obviously, I, Tonya has been a very controversial film because it sort of puts the spotlight on the villain of a age-old story. We remember the kneecapping of Nancy Kerrigan.
Right.
I really did enjoy that film. I'm not saying Tonya Harding is guilty and that film changed my view of it, but it does do a good job of making the viewer feel conflicted because it does sort of humanize Tonya, seeing how she grew up, how her mother abused her, how her upbringing almost led her to be the kind of person that would make that one horrible mistake and then ruin her career forever. But I don't think Margot Robbie is going to win this one, even though she won the Critics' Choice for Best Actress in a Comedy. The front runner is clearly Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards, winning the Golden Globe for Best Actress Drama, Critics' Choice for Best Actress Overall, and the Screen Actors Guild for Best Actress. And
Didn't she win for Fargo?
she did win for Fargo. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's the police chief in
Right,
Fargo.
right.
Who
The pregnant
investigates the
police
murder.
chief.
Yeah, the pregnant police chief.
The film was hilarious.
Oh my God. I had to watch that film a few times for film school. And
Talk about dark humor.
Oh yeah, and this film is really no different.
the wood chipper scene. Why am I laughing about that?
I
don't
mean,
understand.
It is random.
Yeah.
You just pull up and then you see like someone's being thrown into a wood chipper.
That was
Okay.
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, Buscemi's being tossed into the wood chipper. So I mean,
Well,
Frances
I do-
McDormand clearly has this magnetism for dark comedy, and she does get a few laughs because she's a mother who's suffered a major loss and no one's really helping her. So she's very bitter. She's very foul-mouthed and unapologetic, and she doesn't give a blank what you think. She's getting
Taking
her message
matters in her
across.
own hands.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's not a flat mean lady performance. There's definitely a dimension to it because there's these quieter moments where you see the pain she's going through. She just wants some justice. So she carries this film and she's great in it. So I think.
Well, I'd love to see her win. I wouldn't, I don't want to see I, Tonya win anything because I think it's the softening of greed and avarice, which is about what the Tonya Harding escapade was all about.
Mm-hmm.
To think that they could get away with, kneecapping the competitor
Mm-hmm.
at the end of a performance is just, still it's hard to believe. It's almost like it's a plot out of Hollywood.
And Hollywood saw that and was
Yeah.
like, we can make a film out of that.
About that,
It's
sure.
interesting. It's funny because it's the whole sort of theme of that film is what is the truth? Because right off the bat they say this film is based off two very, very conflicting interviews from her and her ex-husband, and so like they cut to one interview with him and he says I didn't do that or I didn't know about it, and you cut to an interview with Tanya and she's like he knew about that, he did that.
Right.
And there's a lot of fourth wall breaking, like they'll turn to the camera and be like that didn't happen, this is how it really happened. So it's sort of like a commentary on what the truth is, how the media perceives truth and stuff. So that's why I sort of appreciated it. I don't appreciate kneecapping, Nancy Kerrigan,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think the poster's interesting and kind of a commentary on today's media versus what went on during the Nixon administration.
it's no coincidence that a film about the relationship between the media and the press is coming out right now.
The media and the president, yeah.
Yeah, the media and the president,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And
the
Meryl
interesting-
Streep should be at the head of it.
Well, yeah, she should be, but it's interesting when you contrast Nixon, the brouhaha that was made over Nixon's 15 minutes of missing tape versus 50,000 emails and a variety of things that have gone on today, particularly with the incompetence shown by the FBI in a number of different cases
Sure.
involving top-level FBI brass with the Fusion GPS and Orr's wife on the payroll, and they're paying Steele for the phony dossier, and suddenly the press is still talking Russia when they got all of these things going on that are 10 times the magnitude of what Nixon did.
Sure.
But we'll see how that plays out. I'm sure they'll want to. I wouldn't be surprised if she wins it, although I think McDormand should get it. But
McDormand,
the
I think
political
definitely
atmosphere is such that Meryl's got a shot.
of course.
A shot. Although what may hold her back is her aggrandizement of Weinstein and
Yeah.
her hero worship.
Another very prominent Academy member who will not be in attendance, I imagine, that night.
You don't think so?
I don't think Harvey's going to
Oh,
be
Harvey's not going
No,
to be
he's
there.
not.
Oh,
Meryl will
Mary
definitely
will
be there.
despite her comments.
And there will
about
be
how
a joke
wonderful
about
Harvey
how not talented she is.
is. Well, she's you got to give credit where credit is
Of
due.
course.
She's a very talented woman.
Yep.
I think her best role ever was The Devil Wears Prada. I mean,
Oh
she
my
was just absolutely, she was evil in that film.
Oh, she was despicable.
All right, so where are we at? Best Supporting Actor.
Best supporting actor.
Okay, director back there,
All
Robert
right.
Paris, our fine director.
The nominees are Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, and Sam Rockwell also for 3 Billboards. Again, there's a clear frontrunner in this category, and it appears to be Sam Rockwell. He has won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor, the Critics' Choice for Best Supporting Actor, and the Screen Actors
He's the
Guild Award.
lazy sheriff, right?
The sheriff is Woody Harrelson.
Okay.
Sam Rockwell is sort of the dim-witted, like, lieutenant, the foul-mouthed southerner who, again, doesn't give a blank, and he assaults people on the street, and he doesn't care. He's a dirty cop, basically. And normally, if it's just a dirty cop, I would see, like, oh, why is he getting nominated if he's just playing a dirty idiot? But the script definitely allows Rockwell to play this third-dimensional character. I don't remember the name of his character, but he goes through this arc where it's like, maybe he's not just this angry idiot.
He
Maybe
turns a
there's something more.
transformational
Yeah, it's a
character.
transformative role. So I think that's why it's getting recognized more than anything else. Woody Harrelson's great in the film too, but I mean, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I think there's reasons why he's not the front runner, and Sam Rockwell is. Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project. His third nomination, not going to be his first win. The Florida Project, that's one of those films that was like, okay, this film's definitely going to win a lot of awards. It's going to be the front runner for Best Picture. We're going to see it in every category down the line, and then just nothing. Nothing but just for him. And then Richard Jenkins, his second nomination. He did a good job in The Shape of Water, but there's nothing really stand out about that role. Christopher Plummer. This is the role. This is the famous role that
Spacey.
Kevin Spacey was supposed to play. Then Ridley Scott said, "Let's edit him out and let's have Christopher Plummer play him." Oh, but we're gonna stick to the release date of the film, which is a month from now. So Christopher Plummer very famously took into the role and filmed the whole thing in under a month. The film still made its release date.
He may be the sentimental favorite for that reason.
I know. Part of me thinks he's just nominated because they want to stick it to Kevin Spacey.
Right.
But
But this may be above and beyond the Call of Duty in terms of the acting required to do that kind of a film in 1 month.
I know. I don't remember, but it was like $9 million to reshoot it just to put him in, and he's not playing a good guy. Like I don't remember the story. The Getty kidnapping.
Yes.
Yeah, he's playing the $1 million Getty. As you saw, I saw the trailer when it had Kevin Spacey in it, and he was clearly not a good guy. And we're learning Kevin Spacey's not a good guy. So my sort of mind is, well, if he's not playing a good guy, just leave Kevin Spacey in the movie, and then the world will still hate him.
Yeah. This is the biggest Spacey's the biggest fall from grace in Hollywood since Fatty Arbuckle, I guess.
I mean, so many accusers. Like
Yeah, I mean,
half a dozen from House of Cards.
Just in ashes,
Yeah.
just completely
It's
in
sad,
ashes.
you know, when you see these talented people and then the curtain's pulled and they're
Well,
not who
the
they're
diva, you know, the legendary diva, both
Yeah.
man and woman, you know, suddenly thinks that, you know, they're ice cream.
You can't touch me.
Yeah, exactly. So last year, Mahershala Ali in Moonlight
Yep.
and Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies.
A year ago. And Mahershala won like every award other than the Golden Globe, and then he went on to win the Oscar. And then the year before that, it's weird. Sylvester Stallone won the majority of awards for Creed. That's the sequel about the Rocky sequel about Apollo Creed's son, and he appeared to be the front runner. Then Mark Rylance came in and won that award. So you can look at the patterns, but there's always going to be a surprise.
Right.
So.
All right, Best Supporting Actress.
Best Supporting Actress.
See those?
We
There
have
we go.
singer-songwriter Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, Laurie Metcalf from Lady Bird, Leslie Manville from Phantom Thread, and Octavia Spencer from The Shape of Water. Not to be repetitive, but another clear frontrunner with Allison Janney from I, Tonya. She plays Tonya Harding's mother in the movie, and 10 minutes in, I knew, okay, she's winning all the awards because she plays this abusive, foul-mouthed, don't care, you're going to be a champion whether you love me or not mother. She gets a lot of laughs in the movie, even though she's just playing this horrible woman. But it's a very powerful and scene-stealing role that I think every Academy has recognized. So I think I, Tonya, or Allison Janney for I, Tonya, is going to get this hands down. Mary J. Blige for Mudbound. Mudbound was released on Netflix, so I don't think any Academy members saw it. So I think she's just going to go quietly back to singing and songwriting when award season's over.
Well, there may be a bias against Netflix as a studio.
I think there definitely is, because you've noticed like there's been a drop in profits from movie theaters in the past few years, because now you can watch a movie on your phone or on your laptop or right from your living room.
Yeah, and the traditional studios, because they're doing these things all over the place.
Right.
Different, bringing new talent and new directing talent, etc.
Yeah. And no major studio wants to put a blockbuster on Netflix because they think they'll make more money in the theaters. And as you know, the numbers show they probably will. But I think we're a far cry away from seeing like a Justice League or a Wonder Woman being released straight to Netflix. I think that's way down the line.
Well, when you're paying $10 a month, $9.99 for Netflix, and you're paying $13 to see it once on the big screen, I think that that's a high hill to climb, tall hill to climb. Okay, so last year we know Viola Davis for Fences, and who won it the year before that?
Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl. And finally, Best Animated Feature for the families. Coco, The Boss Baby, The Breadwinner, Loving Vincent, and Ferdinand. I always joke that this award goes to Pixar by default, and I think this year it is going to go to Pixar by default, because I read an article a few months ago calling this one of the worst years for the race for Best Animated Feature. And when you look at what came out last year, like Despicable Me 3 and the Emoji Movie, you know,
Cars, I think.
Cars 3,
right,
it's
right.
hard to disagree with that sentiment. And again, they're all sequels, nothing original. But Coco was a very beautiful film. That's the film from Pixar. That's the clear front runner. It's won the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature and the Critics' Choice. It swept the Annie Awards, which are sort of like the Academy Award for animated films, winning 11 out of 13 categories. Pixar has won 8 out of 16 years since this category was created.
Well, they were really the first studio that, well, I guess Disney was really the...
Disney, yeah, but Pixar sort of revitalized what an animated film could be with, you know, the cutting edge computer animation and everything, telling stories that can resonate with not just children but adults as well. And it's a very beautiful film. It's a nice story about family and sacrifice, and it takes place in a Mexican village, and it throws a very positive light on Mexican culture, which I think is a nice thing, because I think as of recent, Mexican culture hasn't had a very positive light on it. You know, wall building and such.
In the media, sure.
Yeah.
Well, in MS-13 and, you know,
That's-
Sinaloa
yes, of
cartel, and,
course.
you know, 25,000 murders, I think, last year, drug-related murders. So, no, they haven't had much good press over the last few years.
Yeah. So I don't see like a real major threat to Coco in this category. The Boss Baby, it's a movie about a baby who acts like a boss and has the voice of Alec Baldwin. And, I don't know how some of these films get nominated. The Breadwinner, it's about a young girl in the Middle East who sort of has to disguise herself as a boy so she can work and earn like money and food for her
Support the
family.
sure.
And then Loving Vincent is sort of like a tribute to the art of Vincent van Gogh. And then Ferdinand is like the story of Ferdinand the Bull. That one's by Blue Sky. That studio's only had 2 nominations in the entire existence of this category. And DreamWorks, who does The Boss Baby, has done 2 wins and 12 nominations. But Boss Baby ain't gonna give them their 3rd win.
Okay, wrap it up for us, your top snubs.
My top snubs. All right, this is where I'm going to get subjective.
Well, it's all subjective.
It is true. Entertainment is
it's
subjective. The biggest one I thought was Jessica Chastain for Best Actress. She's playing Molly Bloom, the poker princess. This was written by Aaron Sorkin. It was his first directing gig. I thought it was a very good film. I would have loved it a lot more if I understood the game of poker. But the film itself is good, but she is great. It's sort of that scenario where the performance is great, but the film is not so great. But, you know, she made the film basically, and she, I think, is one of the most talented actresses working in this business right now. And she's a big spearhead of the Me Too campaign and stuff. And I'm surprised that she's not nominated, but you have a stacked category this year with, you know, Frances McDormand and Margot Robbie and Sally Hawkins. The Disaster Artist. I don't know how much you know about The Disaster Artist, but it's the story of The Room, the best worst movie ever made. And this was written and directed by James Franco. And just saying James Franco's name sort of makes you realize, okay, that's why it wasn't nominated.
Sure.
Because the second he won the Golden Globe for that role, all the accusers came out. Ali Sheedy went out on Twitter and accused him of being abusive in a play he directed of her. But, you know, controversy aside, I thought, you know, it wasn't just like a spotlight on this ridiculous film that somehow got made and somehow got this cult following. It was a nice little like story about friendship and partnership. And it's a story about Hollywood, and Hollywood loves films about Hollywood.
Hollywood, sure.
And the man who made this film, Tommy Wiseau, is this mystery cartoon character of a man. You should look him up. He's very strange. Not as strange. Well,
strange person in Hollywood.
James Franco.
Who would figure, right?
Yeah, but he definitely did a good job of humanizing this guy. This is my Disney bias coming out, and it's hard to say best original song when it's from a remake. But I thought the song Evermore for Beauty and the Beast really added something to the film that the animated original didn't have. Not the animated original didn't have a lot, showing my bias. And maybe just some best visual effects nominees for that film, because they had Dan Stevens in a giant motion capture suit to look like the Beast. And it, you know, for the most part, it looks good. There are some parts where his mouth looks a bit off, but it's really cutting edge. I mean, it's Disney. They got the bucks.
Right. They can do what they want, pretty much. They have the top 2 grossing ones for the year?
They do.
Yeah.
I think. What was it? Star Wars and Beauty and the Beast. Star Wars counts for Disney now.
Yeah, right.
I talk about, you know, the worst.
And Beauty and the Beast, yeah.
One of the worst years for best animated feature. Well, they forgot about the Lego Batman movie. Which, you know, saying that doesn't sound Oscar-worthy, but it's probably one of the most clever superhero movies I've ever seen, because it's sort of, it's weird. I sound nuts, but it delves into the psyche of Batman in a way. It's nuts. I'm going to piss off some superhero fans. I think Wonder Woman should have got some nominations. Not the film as a whole, not really, but the director, Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, the actress, I think their 2 works separated from the whole is definitely a landmark for the genre and a landmark for the industry. She really, you know, took that character and made it her own.
And for a woman director as well.
Yes, one of the highest grossing films of the year. She took a character who many believed couldn't work on the big screen, and here we have one of the most successful films of last year. And
basically from an unknown as well.
From an unknown.
Playing the lead.
Her only film before that was Monster with Charlize Theron. So to give a woman director who had only directed a small indie film like that years ago, to give her this major superhero blockbuster, and, you know, she nailed it. So, and, you know, I'll play both sides. I'll play to DC and Marvel. I think Logan could have got some nominees too. It's the first X-Men film. I'm sounding like a nerd. It's the first X-Men film that didn't feel like an X-Men film, and it didn't even feel like a superhero film. It felt like an old Western. And Patrick Stewart, I mean, he's been a well-known actor for years.
He's still Captain Picard, though. You know, it's hard to get by that. And which one is this? This is his 5th role.
This is his fifth as Professor X or whatever?
I think.
I'm not a big X-Men guy.
Yeah, it's hard to count them all.
And then we had her first role ever, this young 7-year-old Daphne Keane, who plays, you know, Hugh Jackman's daughter, who, you know, is sort of like this super powered young girl who doesn't know what she is. She's full of rage. She's angry. She's speaking Spanish for the majority of the film. She's silent, and, you know, she's kicking butt. You know,
For a 7-year-old.
Yeah. So another strong female lead out of last year.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up. This is I'm Phil Gallagher, along with our entertainment reporter, Chris Flaherty, who has done a tremendous amount of work and research on this and seen a lot of films.
Too many.
And so that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Oscar Review.